So, why I will miss my PMO addiction, which is in lieu of no FAP and semen retention. So, if you don't know what those are, basically in the community, as for as long as maybe the last 10 years or so, we have had people who have been up in the rising, not in the ranks, or maybe though, but we have been hearing about people, including myself, obviously, but like who have developed a porn addiction or porn or sex addiction, and maybe other addictions as well in that field. Controversial or not, we have had this addiction for who knows how long. I know for myself it's been at least 11 years and ongoing. Oops. But porn and sex addiction and even electronic stimulation and arousal addiction, whatever you call it. So that's what PMO is. It's like porn, masturbation, orgasm. If you heard these terminologies before, edging, fapping, and the like. So why I will miss my porn addiction. So it's like I got to the point where this is expected for a lot of addicts, but like including drug and alcohol addicts. But like when you get to the point where you normalize the addiction itself, anything that feels better than the addiction, including recovery, feels like something you shouldn't have to have anymore. And it's like it's not that you would never get to have that, but it's like obviously that would be the worst thing for me to think is I would actually convince myself that I'm gonna give up and actually not give up yet. But it's gonna be like weird to say it like that. But it just I personally didn't give up on trying to recover, but it's like when you feel like the things that you're going through now are normalized, and there's a reason I feel like this right now in some ways. I can explain later. I probably explained it already. When I said things like when I gave the certain advice about make your life awesome before you recover from anything, including PMO, and I was like, I meant that. Like if you make yourself life awesome and grateful now, then you'll be looking into better things if you actually do recover, and that by then you'll actually be more ready than if you were just getting straight into it and grinding on the thing where you wouldn't that would technically be, not always, but that would technically be all you have is the recovery, and then it would just be like a entropy kind of thing. I can make a video about why I don't believe in entropy, but or even trial and error for that matter. But it's something that I notice is that I've basically normalized my addiction, and I've become someone who is so grateful for what he has, and doesn't have. I looked at my grandfather on the picture out there. I can show you another video again, or maybe a thumbnail. But it's a picture of me and my grandfather from years ago. He's passed away in 2017. So some of you know who I'm talking about. But it's like the addiction is something. If you make the decision to live with the addiction for the rest of your life, or to live with the idea that you are an addict, you're not trying to recover. That fork in the road where it's like either you make the decision to recover or you don't recover, and that helps some people to think like that. But like where it's like you don't BS the idea that you're gonna be an interjection. If at least if you chose to still be an addict, then you're not being indecisive, which would kind of still technically be sad. But at least that's making a decision, and that's more rational than just being indecisive over and over. Where you're miserable, you're technically more miserable being indecisive than even choosing to be an addict on purpose. And it's like but I've basically normalized. I'll keep saying this. I've normalized being an addict to the point where even if I feel good right now, where there are successful things I'm doing right now, where they're still being tainted by the fact that I'm an addict. But it's like if I choose to recover now, and I start feeling better in a way that's not natural to me at first, it'll normalize over time, as I've heard. It'll be like a highs and lows thing in equilibrium, but it's like highs and lows are common in most average people's lives with or without an addiction. But the equilibrium of recovering where you're peaking your dopamine and then it's going back down and up, and then equilibrium because you kind of did the rebooting process, the rewiring of your brain on porn and sex, and it's like it comes back to equilibrium. But yeah, that's why I ended up normalizing against on accident. I normalized the PMO thing. I normalized in perpetually looking into no and senior tension, and it was kind of a weird loop on that. And depending on how Tyler's video is going to be looking into the YouTube algorithm for that matter, no and senior tension, but I'll tell this whatever I want to. I have a Tyler here. I'm going to miss PMO because it is something that I've identified with for the last 11 years or so. It's something that I actually didn't think would be in part of my life, even on accident, let alone if it was intentional. If any amount of it going forwards especially was on purpose, which you may well think it is. Maybe it would be my responsibility even if it wasn't on purpose. But That's besides the point, I guess. But maybe not. Maybe not. Everything I digress, I don't digress. But I'll miss PMO because it's not a part of me, but it is something that's involved in my life story, and I don't know how many people are going to relate to that too much. Where that means the unique, relatable phrases over and over, as I mentioned I would, but it's something that happened in my life that has been a big chunk of it already, and once it's gone, it will still be there in the back burner, but it won't be like a thing that I focus on anymore. And it'll be like, and technically, I'm making a video about this too. If I make a video about how long you should keep talking about the lifestyle, even after you recover, and that varies from person to person, honestly. But or giving advice about no thumbs or touching and all that. Some people chose to go against it. Some people kept doing it. Some people kept doing it their own ways. But I think what I'm gonna miss the most about being an addict, and this is gonna sound stupid, but it's like I'm going to miss that I had a way to improve one objective thing in my life. There was one obvious thing I could improve in my life that I already knew I could fix, Jordan Peterson style, like where you're like, oh, you may not know everything you're gonna do, and this doesn't have to be in the loop with the objective and subjective thing, but like, I'm sorry, but like maybe not like that, and maybe because I said that already, but in the Jordan Peterson style, where it's like you don't know for sure what you could do better in your life, even if you're wrong about what could be better. But you know there's that one thing that you could do better that you already know you could fix, and that if you fix it now, other doors would open. PMO is definitely that for me right now, because if I fix PMO, not only will the doors open, but the fact that I resolved that shows something about my character, and it's like that's an important thing to me. But that being said, I will miss PMO because it was the one objective thing I knew how to fix, and the one real way to upgrade my life without any regret or remorse for what it actually meant to be an addict in the first place, because that still meant that it was worth being in my life, no matter what it took away from me. And it's a blessing and a curse for any other reason. But I think people who have never been addicts before, and who, however you say that's rare or abundant, it depends on the person you ask. Unfortunately, not everyone thinks that PMO is as big as a problem as it may be, and vice versa. Maybe people are belaying how big of a problem it is, but for either men or women. Because even females can be addicts to PMO, because there are girls and women who have porn addictions and sex addictions, and particularly even maybe in sex addictions, I guess. But porn addictions included. So it's like they're kind of rare. But they need to be given a shout out to that. I'm so hello ladies, but if you're in the chat in the comments right now, but like comment below. Okay, you can hit me up too. Whatever. But like yeah, I'm going to miss PMO. It was a part of my life that I didn't think would be either good or bad in the way it was, but now it has already been good and bad. It's still going to be a better life from here on out, whether I recover today or in the future. But to have recovered at all is just one part of the story. I think actually having an addiction to anything, good or bad, is its own noteworthy endeavor. When you're addicted to something good, you have to remember that even consistency is supposed to be a good thing. So like, but consistently being an addict to something that's bad, even if that wasn't supposed to teach you something, it's still an occurrence. Technically, you could say that was not supposed to be good or bad even then. But when you learn about how the tragedy and this depression behind an addiction can still garner a self-confidence whether you recover or not, then you do become like the YouTubers you see in Jordan Green High School JT, where they garner communities of people who are, for the most part, confident and very enlightening people, because they've been through a tragedy that was already depressing to begin with. And so when they have those communities that are really positive and even wise, those people are doing that for a reason. They don't just have to do it because that's who they are. They're doing it for a reason. They get their story is being told through the lens of being held back from their own purpose and destinies. And it's like they don't have to fulfill that in an extreme way. Maybe that would be the ambitious over higher than mediocrity kind of thing, but like you can still choose to live a simple life even if you recover from PMO. That's kind of what I was looking at lately. I was like, I knew that a simple life would still be possible even if I recovered. But mediocrity doesn't have to be the only answer. Neither does having a ambitious life. When you recover from anything, I do encourage you to still live the best life you can in the present. Live the awesome life you can with or without the recovery, and especially if you do eventually do recover. Because before your recovery, if you're still living an awesome life, you're going to have that on the back burner of its old wank, and that's going to be better for you than if you just didn't think that PMO is good at all, which technically it isn't good at all. And yes, it isn't good at all to have an addiction to PMO, but that would be the only objective thing I want to say. I'm going to miss PMO Not just because of what it gives me to avoid it, but because of what it gives me for existing in itself. The Pandora's box opening for something that I never had to imagine being bad, but because it was already bad, I still thought about what it meant to me. And what it means to me for anything to exist is better than to not have existed at all. That's the way I see things. I prefer that anything can exist and be given a chance to exist, even if they're only going to result in a negative outcome. And if you observe the way I approach life nowadays in my channel and on all the things I do, you're probably going to understand why I feel that way, even after every bad thing has happened to me. Like why I feel that way, and why I feel like the things that, even the good things, could still be bad in their own way, their own wake. It's just, that is how I feel about those things. So I'm going to continue trying to recover, and even if it takes me another 11 years to recover, I'm not going to give up. But even with that, I'm going to miss what PMO offered me, both good and bad. Take care, everyone. Bye.